evening. Storytelling is hard enough, but I got to navigate that floor. I know there's a lot of people here. Now I really know. So excuse me for the time it took to get up. When I was 20 years old, I became the first student government president of a major university in America. And I was honored as such, and it was a pretty amazing year for me. I did a lot of things, and most of them were non-traditional. Like I bought a plane for the flying club. And the university system, SUNY, they didn't like that. But that's another story, just to tell you that I was pretty willing to do things that were above and beyond normalcy. And one day I was in my office, and the concert board chairman, Kahan, we were great friends, came into my office and says, "Hey, you want to go see a concert tonight?" I'm like, "What concert?" He goes, "I'm just going to look at a band to see if we could bring them into the college." And that's his job to do. And I said, "All right, when?" He goes, "Let's leave now." I'm like, "Now? Like now?" "Yeah, like now." Okay. So I gathered what I needed, whatever that might be. 50, 60 seconds goes by and I'm out the door. So we get into his car and we start driving, and we're driving. I said, "Hey, where the heck are we going?" He says, "We're going to a concert. We're going to see a band." I'm like, "I know, but where are we going?" "Well, you've been driving for almost an hour. I thought we were staying like in town in Albany." He's like, No, the band is playing at Delhi College." Delhi College? This is a 4-hour trip, not counting the band. I wasn't ready for that, so I was pretty frustrated with, oh no, I just blew the whole night. No idea. I didn't ask, but I didn't get told either. So we go, I'm in it, I got no choice. I can't walk back. I have no other way to get there. So we get to the college. We can't find our way to the ballroom because we don't know the college. We finally figure it out. We go inside and there's a band playing, and there's probably 100 or 150 people in a room that could hold 500. So it was not very crowded. And we're sitting in metal folding chairs, and I'm thinking to myself, wow, this band is really good. And I turned to Doug and I'm like, "Doug, I'm glad you asked me to come to this. This is actually a real good band." And he says, "Yeah, they're really great." So we watched the rest of the show, and at the end of the show, I said to him, "What do you think? You're going to bring them in?" And he says, "I'd like to, but I couldn't." I got up for a minute and I went looking for the manager, and there was nobody around. And it's not like that. We usually have somebody that the colleges, this is what we do is college concert boards. I said, "All right, I'm learning this gig. I just signed checks as the president of the association." So I said, "Well, what do we do?" And he goes, "I don't know." So we're standing on the side of the stage, and guys come out from around the back of the stage, and these are the band members. And people left. And he said, "I don't know who they are." And I said, "Hey guys, are you part of the band?" And one guy says, "Yep." I said, "Can we talk to you about maybe signing a deal to have you come play at our university?" And he goes, Sure. He runs over and he says, "All right, good. How much would you charge for a concert? It's going to be in Albany. When is it?" I said, "The first week of May, the first Saturday of May. We call it Mayfest." He says, "Mayfest? That sounds big." I said, "Well, I think that you're big enough to be big. Why don't you think about it?" And he's like, "I don't have to think about it." I said, "Good. How much would you charge?" And he goes, $15,000. $15,000. You're in. Oh, we're good. He says, "But we have to bring our other band with us." I go, "Who's that?" He goes, "The Flock of Seagulls." I said, "The Flock of what?" He goes, "The Flock of Seagulls." I said, "I'll tell you what, I'll give you 15 grand, leave them home. You could still have the money." No, we can't do that. We're touring with them, yada, yada, yada. I'm like, "I never heard of them. I don't really care. Bring them. It's fine." I said, "Doug, did you ever hear the Flock of Seagulls?" He goes, "I think I read their name on a band sheet. Like we get these hot sheets of who's around, who's touring." I never heard them. I said, we'll make it work. He goes, what will we do? I said, if we don't like them, we'll make them not be on the stage. We'll make some complications. I don't know what we'll do, but we're going to get this band. And I said to the guy, I shake his hand. I'm like, I'm going to give you a check right now. He goes, all right. He says, it's 3 months from now. I said, we're going to pay you in full. I'm thinking 15 grand. That's nothing. We're good. He's like, this is a great deal. He gives me a hug. And I hug him back. And we clasp hands. I give him the check. And I said, oh, by the way, what's the name of your band? And he says, UWho. And I said, cool name. And I had my thumbs like this. And we left. I'm like, UWho, that's a cool name. And I was right. I was right. By the time they came to Albany to play at our 22,000 person Mayfest, where we sold beers out of 30 beer trucks. We went through 400 kegs of beer. Yeah, we used to do that back in the day. And I can tell that I'm not the oldest person in this room. And some of you know what I'm talking about. And we had really great fun. It was amazing weather. And by the time they came to Albany, UWho was big. Nice name, good band name, I liked it. But it was all over the radio, like they were doing great. And I am like in heaven because they're a great band, they're a big name now. And we paid $15,000 for this band who was getting $1 million a show by the time they came to Albany. They never tried to renegotiate. They made a deal. The guy I was talking to make the deal was Bono himself. He was as straight as can be, nice man. And then while I'm at the side of the stage and I'm talking to people, and I'll be honest with you, I did go to the beer truck one time, just one. But when the band came out and they played their first song, Bono was looking for me. Where's the president of the student government? Where is he? And I'm not even hearing him because I had a beer, just one. We were there for 4 hours. It was maybe 2, but. And then he sees me and he yells to somebody to get my attention. And they do, and they bring me to the side of the stage. The stage is up to here, so his feet are like at my face level. And he's up there, sort of from where I'm standing. And he says, give me your hands. And he gives me my hands, and 2 guys grab me from the butt and the hamstring. I know, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. It gets better. They push me up. He grabs me onto the stage, and he says, I want to dedicate the next song to your student government, a man of vision. And he gives me one of the best kisses I ever had on my lips. And I found something else that was surprising. There was a tongue there. And I mean it, I'll never forget it as long as I live. It wasn't the best kiss I ever had. That I promise you. But it was very noticeable, and I would recognize it anywhere. The show was fantastic. You could just imagine. A 2.5-hour show, $15,000. I was like, I couldn't believe that that's all we paid for that. Oh, by the way, the Flock of Seagulls, they were great. I'm so glad we had them. The Flock of Who, that's what I remember saying. It's just so weird how that works with music. 2005 rolls along. This was 1983 when they played at Mayfest. 22 years later, I fly to Florida to visit my friend John. The next night, he says to me, hey, Corso. I said, yeah? He goes, we're going to a concert tonight. I'm like, where? He says, we're going to Miami. I'm like, you're already up, you're all the way up in Del Rey. I said, how far is that? He goes, an hour and a half. I'm like, okay, I've done that before. And he says, my friend is the head roadie for the band, and I got tickets on the stage. I'm like, wow, on the stage? That's unbelievable. I said, who are we going to see? UWho. I'm like, hey, that's a nice name. I like that name. And I love you too. So we go and we get seats on the stage. There are 24 seats on the stage, sideways looking at the side of the stage from this perspective. So he says, Rob told me that he's going to shake everybody's hand on the stage. There's 24 people. You're going to sit right in front of me so I could see everything that's happening, and I'll let you know what to do. And when Bono comes around to shake your hand, I'll tell you now, and you put your hand out, and he'll reach for it, and you'll shake his hand. So I said, oh, cool, all right. And I got a kiss from the guy. I don't care about his hand. But he says now, and instead of doing this to shake his hand, I put my hand up like this. Bono goes against my hand and says, I remember you, Albany. And I was like, wow. But I went like this. He moves on to other people. I'm happy about everything. I got a high five, wonderful. The band is about to start playing. And again, another fabulous show, really great time. But I want to just wrap up by telling you something that happened a few days before all of this happened. It was the end of my term as president. And traditionally, the editor of the student newspaper and Albany Student Press, the ASP, was one of the best student newspapers in the country at the time, a leader in student press. And they wrote an editorial traditionally at the end of the term of the president of student government. And they wrote one about me. It was called Corso's Course. And they described me and what I did and how I did it. I did not agree with half of the things they said, but that's what happens with the press, right? They got the power of the pen, and I had the power of nothing at that point. But I want to just tell you the last line of the editorial. Mr. Corso did all kinds of things, and while we think he was rather stubborn and not willing to work as a team, they're crazy, but that's what they said. We do want to show sometimes he makes mistakes. This is 5 days before the concert. They said, and his final move was to hire UWho from Mayfest. UWho. That has lived with me forever. And I have multiple copies of this article. And the guy who wrote that was the editor of the newspaper. His name was Dean Betts. And all of a sudden, recently, like a month ago, I joined Facebook for the first time in my life. Probably one of my other big mistakes I've made. But I see Dean Betts sends me a note. I haven't seen him since 1983. He says, Corso, you're still around. I said, yeah, and so are you. And he writes back, how you doing? I said, I'm doing great. He writes, have you made any other stupid moves, like hiring UWho? And I said, I'm glad you said it, because I wanted to. Thank you.